One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live, starts now on AM 970, The Answer.
That sounds really dramatic, Alex. What's that called?
All right, this is Beware from Evil from Aurora Asset.
Wow, let it run the lid. Deliver us from evil. That's for sure. May I hear an amen?
Amen.
Hey, Mert.
That's
do you
not
have
in the
any
script.
idea who said this quote? Ready? The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States. Let me read that again. The main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States. Does it sound anti-American? Yeah, go ahead.
No, but that was Steven Spielberg who said that. That was Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg. But does it sound anti-American to you before I tell you who said that?
Well, not really, because I don't think that sounds anti-American, because it's a very cloudy statement. It's a very cloudy statement. You know, that type of statement is like with elitists. That's what the type of stuff elitists say. So it's kind of like you got to really sit there and think about it, because once you said it, it's pretty much like, oh, okay, you just said that. That's not something I really commit to.
A stable and just world order is the United States, and you don't think that that's anti-American?
No, because if you look at what is actually being said there, it could be some truth to it. It could be, well, America is actually interfering in what the rest of the world is doing, or maybe America isn't interfering enough.
Don't agree. Thank you,
or
judges.
maybe America isn't doing enough to influence the world in a positive way. It could go a different direction.
So
give
him another zonk, please, judges. Give him another zonk. Alex, what do you think? Is this anti-American or what?
I mean, yeah, and it is, because you have to read it a couple times to understand what it's saying, but it is anti-American, because he's basically saying, United States, we got to get them the hell out of the way. And by the way,
that's right.
with all the...
better. This almost reads, Mert, things would be better if there were no United States. I mean, this is the most anti-American thing I've ever heard. Gabby, what do you think? Do you like it or dislike it? You think Mert's off again? Is he off again?
I'd say it's definitely anti-American for sure. I mean, as stated a few minutes ago, you might have to reread it a few times, but after that, I'd consider it pretty straightforward.
The main obstacle to a stable and just world is the United States. Oh my God, that line, Mert, came from a 2006 book called The Age of Fallibility, and it was authored by none other than George Soros. Some critics say it's proof of the guy's anti-American sentiment, and my friends, it sounds pretty anti-American to me.
I wish I could meet George Soros, because he seems like, everybody makes him seem like he's a bad guy. Maybe I can get some of this money he's always throwing around or something like that.
First of all, I think he's like 1,000 years old, so good luck. I don't know. I think he may be like in ice or on ice or something like that. But
you got to be
kidding. Look,
he's on ice. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Who is George Soros, if you're wondering? Well, he was born in Budapest in 1930. He survived Nazi occupation, immigrated to England, where he studied at the London School of Economics. He later moved to the United States, became one of the most successful investors in history, famously breaking the Bank of England in 1992 by shorting the British pound. He's a billionaire, Mert. But Soros isn't best known for his financial acumen, but for his philanthropic and political activities. And there's a point here. Through his open society foundations. He has donated billions to causes ranging from human rights and education to democratic governance and criminal justice reform. That all sounds good on paper, but behind the scenes there seems to be some controversy. Because he backs liberal and progressive causes, he also finds himself frequently targeted by conservatives and nationalists around the world. Now, some people have claimed that Soros has been banned by many countries. But despite those claims, we want to make it clear he is not banned from any European country, but his groups, especially open society foundations, have run into a lot of trouble. Now, in fact, they've been asked to leave many countries. So while Soros is free to travel, his organizations aren't as fortunate. You get what I'm going with this? So the man may be okay, but the organizations that he supports and funds, persona non grata in a lot of countries. For example, Russia in 2015 threw them out because they called it an undesirable organization that posed a threat to national security. Russia Pakistan in 2017 threw them out. In Europe, it's a little bit more nuanced. The institutions haven't been banned, but they've been targeted through legislation and public campaigns.
So let me get this straight. This man has been thrown out of Russia. He's been thrown out of Pakistan.
Not the man, his organizations that he
Well,
funds.
I'm going to attribute it to the man because everybody's always trying to slander the man by talking about these groups he's supporting with his money. So I'm going to attribute it to him. And if you're telling me he's been thrown out of Russia and Pakistan, then he might not be doing anything that bad, because aren't we currently getting on Russia for what they're doing in the Ukraine? So if Russia is deeming this individual, George Santos or Soros, I don't want to make that mistake, to be a bad individual, maybe he's actually a positive individual, and these bad countries are trying to sully the man's name, and in turn, that's translating to America. You know, there's a lot of people over here in America who try to dampen the man's name. And from what you just said, he's been kicked out of these places that have reputations for being the evil empires or housing terrorists, as in Pakistan.
Okay, I get your point. Then what about Hungary, his birthplace? Apparently he's not, his organizations aren't welcome there.
I don't know anything about Hungary. So Hungary you can have Hungary, but I don't know anything about Hungary.
Polish leaders have echoed anti-Soros rhetoric, accusing him of clashing with traditional Polish identity. Look, he's into open borders, Mert. He's into funding progressive causes. He's out, in my humble opinion, to destroy any country that he can by allowing immigrants and empowering immigrants to enter without authorization. And as we've seen, that just doesn't work. Why would you want to promote people to just mass move wherever they want and to quote unquote invade onto the other countries? It just doesn't wash.
Well, if what you said earlier, if he's Jewish, then I can understand why a group of people who've been persecuted and chased around the planet, and they never really have a consistent home. I could understand why somebody who's Jewish would want open borders and acceptance wherever they decide to move. I'm not going to say it's right to have that mentality, but I'm not going to call him an evil person for wanting something that would benefit him and his people, because if you can go anywhere and be accepted, then you feel safe. But if
Turkey in 2018 threw out the Open Society Foundation because allegedly they were funding mass movements against urban development and protests. They were funding protests. The president of Turkey claimed that Soros was the man who assigns people to divide nations. Now, thank you, judges. That's not a good person, or if he's out to destroy countries.
The problem with these countries is, The problem with these countries is this: they don't have a population of billionaires, or they don't have a population of millionaires in the high millions, close to billionaires, who can counteract a George Soros. So you have somebody who can have overwhelming power with just one bank account, basically. So he can come in and dump money, and these people are like, wow, our government has suppressed us from being able to make all this money. You know what? We might as well listen to what a George Soros says. Whereas you come to America, there's plenty of billionaires around. You go to London or whatever, some places in Europe, there's plenty of wealth around. So these I can't even say that word. These nations that have a lot of poor people, it is kind of easy for somebody with a lot of money to come in and influence things, and that can be very dangerous. So it makes sense why these nations would want his influence not to be a factor, and they would remove him. Because if you have enough money, you can compete with the government, who is not going to just put money in the pockets of their people.
Look, Romania has accused his organization of manipulating protests and destabilizing the government. Bulgaria as well. So he's like a persona non grata. His organizations are a persona non grata around the world. Now, I don't know if you know this, but it should come as no surprise that the United States Department of Justice is looking into Soros and his foundation. See, that was the point. In late September, that was my Brooklyn accent, it was widely reported that the DOJ has directed prosecutors to prepare investigations into the foundations that are funded by the billionaire George Soros. The directive, issued by Agash Singh, outlines potential charges, get ready for this, ranging from racketeering and wire fraud to material support for terrorism. Okay, this is what we know. Multiple attorney offices received a memo from the DOJ telling them to prepare investigations. The memo reportedly listed a range of charges. Ready for this list, Mert? This is serious stuff. Material support for terrorism, racketeering under the RICO Act, wire fraud, arson, money laundering. These are pretty serious and ugly charges, and the directive was sent to offices in 7 states, including California, New York, Illinois, Michigan, and Maryland. The DOJ, along with our hardworking and dedicated U.S. attorneys, will prioritize public safety and investigate organizations that conspire to commit acts of violence or other federal violations of law. That was the quote from the DOJ. Boy, he's headed for trouble in America, don't you think?
Listen, you might not
okay?
make
these charges are okay. The guy's promoting arson, racketeering, money laundering.
I think this is all politically motivated. It's all politically motivated because after January 6th, all those Republicans who were upset at that election, and you want to bring up some wire fraud, investigate that whole movement. Investigate January 6th and see what organization was funding all of that stuff. And then you can come talk to me about going after George Soros. I don't want to hear it because it's just political. It's just all politics. He's the big name. It's just like the Koch brothers or whatever. They always want to go after the Koch brothers for throwing their wealth around, and they want to go after Soros. It's always a name that they want to go after, but nobody ever gets these people.
This is sort of unique. I mean, the allegations, I don't know if it's true, but the allegations are that his foundations have donated over $80 million to groups tied to terrorism or extreme violence. If that is true, then the guy or people behind his organizations, whoever is doing this funding, should go away for a very long time.
Well, you know why I find that hard to believe, because terroristic organizations don't usually have a paper trail. So if you can give me an accurate number of how much he's donated to actual terroristic organizations, then I would have to question, how do you know what these terrorists are taking? How do you have that information? And if you have that information, why aren't you stopping these terroristic organizations from receiving money? What it sounds like is some of these organizations who are receiving money have been politically designated as terroristic organizations, but it's not a real thing because these are just organizations who don't align with the current people in political power. Therefore, these are not actual terroristic organizations because there's a paper trail. There's a donation button that you can go to a website, and if you want to donate to these organizations, you can't do it.
But Mert, there are organizations that appear legit, but actually they're cover for terrorist groups. Alex, any thoughts about this? Because Mert seems to think it's okay. Throw $80 million.
Look here. I don't want to spread false information, but from what I've heard, is this guy's also donated to many campaigns of the far left, like I'd hate to say Imam Dani. I'd hate to say Omar up in Minnesota. I feel like though there has been claims that he's had a hand in all of that as well. But what I'm concerned about the most is he's also bought up a certain radio outlet, and about 250 stations. He's bought up some stations in New York, in across the country to get his message out. That's disturbing to me.
He's just doing what the Koch brothers did. They bought up a whole bunch of radio stations.
Maybe Mert will go work for him because Mert seems like he's a terrorist lover. So maybe Mert, you should.
I wouldn't claim him as that, Lucas. I would not paint him in that light. However, I do say that this fact that he's bought up some radio stations across the country is unnerving.
Well, he should be banned from doing it if these allegations are true. He'll definitely lose any licenses because the FCC monitors this stuff too. Look, if he's convicted, he can go to the clinker for up to 20 years, and actually. He may have life imprisonment, so who knows? Look, the investigation into George Soros and his foundations is a litmus test for American democracy as our nation grapples with this rising polarization. So whether it leads to charges or fizzles out, I think it will shape the boundaries of political speech, the future of philanthropy, and the credibility of the Justice Department itself. I don't know. Anyway, here's a loophole for you. We're rapidly approaching a commercial break, but before we get there, this is Lucas Farrar with me in the studio, which is located in the heart of the financial district in downtown Manhattan, is my co-host, the Mertinator, otherwise known as Mert Roberts, working the board, Alex Garrett, who has a 5-star rated podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett, and with him in the studio is none other than Princess Gabby Pisani, his fiance. Princess Pisani, are you still there?
Yes, I'm thoroughly enjoying the show tonight.
Do you believe that Mert's a Soros lover?
Nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to Mert. Keeps things interesting.
Violence, segment 1. Loving Soros, segment 2.
Mert, where can I give you the Open Society Foundation application? I just want to know that.
Send it to me. I'll sign up. Sign me up. I want $1 million for being progressive.
Once he heard radio stations, Alex, that you better believe he wants to sign up. But thank you, Gabby. We appreciate your being here and giving us support. When we come back, we'll be joined by Jane Eisner. She's a seasoned journalist, and she's the author of a new biography called Carole King. She Made the Earth Move. This book dives deep into the life and legacy of one of America's most iconic singer-songwriters. So whether you're a longtime fan or discovering King's genius for the first time, Eisner's biography offers a fresh, intimate look at the woman who helped shape the sound of a generation. Don't go away. Me, Mert, Alex, Gabby, Jane Eisner, all of us at AM 970 Radio will return after these quick messages. So until we get back, pour yourself something strong, tune your inner piano, and prepare for more revelations from Jane Eisner's deep dive into the life of Carole King. Because when music is rich, even the silence has a backstory.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. Wish there was an easier way to navigate the world of real estate. If only there was a way to learn from the best. Well, now there is. Saturdays at 10, our very own Dottie Herman, Vice Chair of Douglas Elliman, gives you the inside track to what is hot in real estate. Stay one step ahead in today's seller's market as Dottie gives her tips on how to make it through the tricky waters. Doesn't matter if you're new to the game or a seasoned vet, you need to listen to Eye on Real Estate. Dottie and her team of experts will guide you as sellers and buyers to make sure you're getting the best value for your property. Whether you want to become a real estate agent or work within the business, there is no better person to learn from than the great Dottie Herman. Why? Because she is the best, period. So tune in, Eye on Real Estate, Saturdays at 10 on AM 970, The Answer. That's Eye on Real Estate, Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock on AM 970, The Answer. You're listening to Salem Media of New York with another breaking news update. Kevin McCullough reporting. At least one additional death has been reported since my last report in Jamaica. Extensive damage being done through all parts of the northwest and southwest portions of the island of Jamaica. Melissa, the Hurricane Cat 5, tied 1935's Labor Day hurricane in Florida with wind speed and tied the 1935 hurricane and the 2019 Hurricane Dorian in terms of size, pressure exerted on the land. They measure that in a thing called millibars, and also wind capacity, 295 kilometers per hour. Our friends in Jamaica need our help. They're asking you to help right now. 855-907-4673, 855-907-4673, or go to am970theanswer.com.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
All right, this is the Soft Rock by Sync Lab Music.
Jane Eisner is a distinguished journalist, editor, and author whose career has spanned decades of incisive cultural and political commentary. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, Washington Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and numerous other publications where she's tackled everything from religious pluralism to civic engagement. Her latest book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move, is published by Yale University Press, is part of the Jewish Lives series. And in this richly text portrait, Eisner explores the life and legacy of Carole King, not just as a chart-topping singer-songwriter, but as a cultural icon whose Jewish heritage, personal resilience, and artistic evolution helped shape the soundscape of post-war America. From King's early days in Brooklyn's Brill Building to her groundbreaking solo success with Tapestry, Eisner traces the emotional and creative threads that defined King's journey. With her signature blend of journalistic rigor and narrative warmth. Eisner brings fresh insight into King's music, activism, and enduring influence. The book is both a celebration of King's artistry and a meditation on the power of song to reflect and reshape social change. Welcome, Jane, to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas Live. It's great having you on the program.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
Jane, we're honored. So let me start off with the most obvious question. Why Carole King, and why a book on Carole King? What motivated you to do that?
Well, I've been a fan of her music since Tapestry was released in 1971. I was a teenager then, and I just thought the song spoke to me on so many different levels. I continued to follow her music, her later albums, some of which are really good. Saw her in concert, saw the Broadway show, and then when I had the opportunity to write a biography of her for the Jewish Live series, as you mentioned, it just seemed a perfect fit for me. There has never been a standalone biography of her, and I thought it was really time to explore her life, her musical legacy. It is a complicated life, and I think it was really a good chance for all the many people who love her songs and appreciate what she was trying to do, to really sort of go behind the curtain and find out more about her as a woman, as a musician, as somebody, as you said, who really kind of promoted social change in her own way.
Now
Lucas.
Yes, go ahead.
Lucas, can I ask a question? Let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
So, Jane, are you Jewish yourself? You said you were writing for a Jewish organization. Are you Jewish yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
for more than a decade, I was editor-in-chief of The Forward, the large national Jewish news organization.
Okay. So I want to ask you this because I want to know about you, and then we could get into, more about the book you wrote, but I'm just always curious about individuals who highlight this type of stuff. What is your thoughts on being a Jewish person, the way Jewish voices aren't so loud in this country? Because what you're trying to do is highlight Jewish people and highlight their voices, but I often feel like it's other people outside of the Jewish community who are speaking loud about Jewish issues. Do you feel like that's accurate, or do you feel like Jewish people, they do have a loud enough voice? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't really want to get into politics in terms of music, which is the subject of my book, and the thing I know a lot about right now. I think that the Jewish contribution to popular music is certainly recognized. I mean, you think about Carole King's peers, Barbra Streisand, Paul Simon. These are people who are the same age as she is, and grew up without any big legacy, and created their own. And I think they are very much recognized for their artistry and their contributions. So, you don't have to necessarily be the loudest person to be the one whose talent and ambition is really recognized.
That was a very good thing you just did there, because we are like a political show usually, but the fact that you said, I'm not talking about politics right now, in the music arena, Jewish voices are highlighted. So I think it's very good what you just did there, because a lot of people might overlook that and focus on the politics, but you're saying that in other areas, Jewish representation is there. If it's not obviously strong, it is there in a strong enough way where it's not an issue. So that was a very good thing that you just did right there, because you're under no obligation to talk about politics, because we want to talk about your book. I just want to know what you thought about that, because it's been a very hot topic thing, especially at our station. But that's a very accurate thing you just said. In music, the Jewish community is very well represented, and is so. When you were creating this book, was it just the fandom of Carol, or was it more? Did you feel like this was something that was very necessary because she was being underserved in terms of her influence and her recognition, and it was lacking, and you said, I want to stand up for her and promote her more than is what's being done currently?
Well, I wouldn't say it quite that way. I'm a journalist, and so I didn't write a book that was meant to be a fangirl book. I certainly am a fan of her music, not all of it, but I think her life is really both exemplary and problematic. So for me, I was just searching for the truth about her, and I think her life is significant historically because of where she came from. She was born in 1942. She lived in a neighborhood in New York City, in Brooklyn, that was filled with the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren of immigrants, Jewish, Italian, all sorts of folks who were living in, very, very modest circumstances. Her father was a New York City firefighter. These were not fancy people at all, and they had a lot of ambition, and some of them had a lot of talent. And to me, it was really interesting to look at that moment in time, particularly post-war, outer borough New York communities like hers in Brooklyn and also places in Queens, and that's what I wanted. One of the things I really wanted to explore in this book. So I approached it as a journalist, and that means I just do a lot of research and I interview a ton of people and I try to figure out the truth.
As a journalist, you said that you wanted to, get to the truths. What are the lies that were being told about her? Because you said true. So what was the misconception out there that you're trying to correct?
I didn't say that there were lies out there. I just think that there were things about her life that were, yes, underappreciated, specifically the originality of her music. And it took me a long time to kind of be able to talk about that intelligently. I took piano lessons for 2 years to better understand the chord structure she was using, the way she organized her songs, the way she used chords and melodies to play against each other. All that, I think, was I wouldn't say that it was unappreciated. I just think it hadn't been explored in that way. And I hope that people will see that that's the contribution I made, or one of them, in my book. I think when you're talking about people like her who are brilliant and also problematic and complicated, as I said, it's not so much countering lies as it is filling in the blanks of a story that hasn't been fully told.
I'll give you credit. You're very diplomatic, because if somebody is making her seem like she's bad, then I would consider those lies, but you're trying to say that those aren't lies. I think those are lies. If somebody's saying that she's you can probably explain that after the break, what it is that people is actually saying about her that's so negative, or I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
But Jane, we have to take a quick break for some commercial messages. But have no fear. When we return, Jane Eisner will rejoin us. For more about Jane and her work, please check out our website, jeisner.com. That's JEISNER.com. Now, if you thought Carole King only shaped pop music, think bigger. Jane is here to map the legacy. One chord, one cause, one cultural shift at a time.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate. MyPillow is excited to announce they're having their biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and an overstock deal you won't find anywhere else. My Slipper's only $39.98. Any color, any style. Regular $149.98. Now only $39.98. That's $110 savings. Once they're gone for good. My Towels are finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And for the first time and only time ever, get their limited edition premium MyPillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive free shipping plus $100 in free digital gifts. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-651-0798 and use the promo code Joe P. Use your promo code for the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Under the visionary leadership of Mayor Mike Spano, the city of Yonkers is undergoing a remarkable economic renaissance unprecedented in its history. A key to the city's success is the Yonkers Industrial Development Agency. In the past 5 years alone, the Yonkers IDA has provided financial incentives for development projects representing nearly $4 billion in private investment and more than 8,100 residential units planned, completed, under construction, and approved for development. And it has created nearly 10,000 construction jobs. And now, thanks to IDA incentives, Yonkers is home to Liongate's $100 million state-of-the-art TV and film studio, the largest facility of its kind in the Northeast. To learn more about the financial incentives provided by the Yonkers IDA, visit www.yonkersida.com or call 914-509-8651. That's www.yonkersida.com or 914-509-8651.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back. Jane Eisner is with us, and her book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move, reminds us that behind every timeless anthem is a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. Jane's mapped the music, the movement, and the moxie, so let's get into it. Oh, and if you're looking for more information about Jane and her book about Carole King, please check out Jane's website. That's jeisner.com. JEISNER.com. Of course, we'll have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. So, Jane, let's talk about your book. What was the biggest, were there any surprises? And if so, what was the biggest one that you uncovered?
Well, I think it really came when I started to learn how to play her songs. I had played piano as a child, we all had. And when I started doing the research for this, I had a big book of Carole King songs and tried to play them, and I couldn't. Everything I learned just fled out of my hands. And so I found a wonderful piano teacher to help work with me. And I didn't learn all the songs on Tapestry, but I learned a bunch of them. And in so doing, I really realized that while, a lot of her songs may seem kind of peppy and simplistic, they are not. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in those songs. Chord changes and key changes and playing around with the structure of chords and playing around with the structure of the song itself. And I think that was the biggest revelation for me.
Did you find that these chord changes evoke certain sentiments or emotions, the psychology? Did you dissect the underpinnings of it, Jane?
You're absolutely right. I think what's going on is that there's this kind of subtle magic that happens in these songs that you may not realize how much they contribute to the texture of what you're hearing. I'll give you just one small example. So, we all know You've Got a Friend. It's like become an anthem for our generation.
Yes, great song. Yeah.
Well, in the beginning of the song, when she's talking about the problem, when you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand, that part of the song is in a minor key. And then when she starts to sing about how you resolve that problem, you just call out my name, that switches to a major key. And, a minor key will make us feel uneasy, sad, melancholy, and a major key will make you feel much more upbeat. And I think that was happening in the song, and I've heard that song a zillion times, and I never realized that that's what was going on.
I never realized it either, Jane, till you mentioned it. So it's a way, and I pardon the phraseology, but it is a very effective way of manipulating emotion, is it not? But
yes. Yeah. I wouldn't, I think manipulating might not quite be the right word, although perhaps it is in some cases. But I certainly would say it's transmitting. It's trying to transmit an emotion in the people who are listening to it. And she was really successful at that.
What surprised you about her early years at the Brill Building? Anything interesting? Anything?
Well, she's such a complicated person. You wouldn't think of her as a kind of flag-waving feminist, and yet she really broke ground as a woman. I mean, it was rare to see a woman, and certainly a mother, be behind these incredibly hit songs, not just the ones that she ended up recording herself, but the songs that she and her first husband, Jerry Goffin, wrote for so many other recording artists at that time, and they still are sung by contemporary artists, and she just quietly, without fanfare, just decided to push through on this, and then when it came time for her to record her own songs, when she moved to California and joined what they call the singer-songwriter movement there, really led it. I mean, people say that when they were recording songs in the studio, there would be all these guys playing different instruments, and she's always on the piano, and she's the one who's directing the rest of them. And, it's not like she did it with great fanfare. She just did it.
What was the most challenging part about writing this biography, Jane?
Well, I knew it was going to be really difficult for me to secure an interview with her. She's just notoriously press shy. But I tried, as I said before, I'm a journalist. If I can't get in the front door, I try the side window or down the chimney or whatever. So I really tried. And anyhow, it didn't work. And then I had to figure out, well, how am I going to do this? And I realized that it allowed me a certain degree of freedom. I think I wrote a more analytical book, because I was able, through a lot of hard work, to tell the story of her life, but do it with a certain amount of distance, and I hope, a certain amount of honesty in the way I portrayed different things.
Do you know if she's read the book, or have you heard anything about her reaction to the book?
Well, I don't know that she's read it. I know that the people representing her have, when it first came out, actually even before it first came out, asked for copies, and our publisher sent it to them when it came out, and I haven't heard anything from her since. I suspect she's read it. I certainly hope so, but I don't know.
What do you hope she feels or learns from it?
Oh, that's interesting. I hope she thinks I treated her fairly, in that I really helped to solidify her musical legacy.
That is so beautiful, Jane, and I'm sure you have. Our producer, engineer, Alex Garrett, has a question for you. Go ahead, Alex.
The musical Beautiful, did you get a chance to see it, and did that accurately portray her, do you think?
Oh, well, thanks, Alex. Yeah, I've actually seen it 3 times. The first 2 times were before I knew I was doing this book, and then the third time after. I think it's a great musical. I talk about the sort of origin story, how it came about, how it almost didn't happen. I talk about that a lot in my book. I think it portrays her life well as a, couple of hour show on Broadway. It clear you have to condense a story when you're on the stage like that. So, for example, her mother has a big role. Her father doesn't. He's not there at all. I mean, her father was a very important person in her life. I mean, I get why you can't just have all the characters in her life be on stage. So there are ways in which the requirements of a play mean that the life story that you're trying to portray, that they're going to kind of get condensed, and some things are going to be omitted. But I think the spirit of it was absolutely accurate.
And the spirit of your book sounds amazing. Unfortunately, Jane, believe it or not, we've run out of time, and it was an absolute pleasure having you on the program. Thanks for coming on. For more about Jane and her work, particularly her great book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move, check out her website, jayeisner.com. That's JEISNER.com. We'll have links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Thank you, Jane. Thank you for joining us. We were honored. Thank you. Well, my friends,
thank you for having me.
That concludes show number 70. May I hear an amen?
Amen.
Special thanks to the Mertonator, Mert Roberts, my co-host, for 70 amazing episodes. That's 140 hours of live entertainment. And if you think that's easy, you do it. And to Alex Garrett, Gabby Pisani, thank you. Show wouldn't be the same without you. And to everyone behind the scenes at AM 970, Matthew Samble and Joe Sabia, Frank Volpe, just to name a few. Thank you. Before I go, please check out my movies. They're streaming everywhere. Help, Makeup, 5000 Space Alien, Children of the Spines. I can't even say the names right. Check them out. They're streaming on all the platforms. If you're listening to us live, next up, my favorite AM 970 show, Culinary Confidential, starring Christina Cates. If you're a foodie, stay tuned. I love that program. Join us next week. We'll have more controversial topics, more special guests, just for you. Same time, same place. Ciao, ciao.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.